Gentlemen, please be seated. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please silence all electronic devices. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the District 6 pre-session Town Hall meeting. My name is Paul Blitz, and I will serve as tonight's moderator for our Town Hall meeting. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming out during these bitter cold temperatures and threat of snow to hear from your elected officials. I would also like to thank the Baltimore County Public Library, North Point Branch, for hosting tonight's Town Hall meeting. Our format this evening, ladies and gentlemen, will be as follows. When you arrive, you are asked to write down questions on index cards. This will help facilitate things and keep things flowing. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand and someone will come around and give you an index card to give to one of our staff members. We will try to answer as many questions as time allows. Proper decorum will remain at all times, and we ask that you please be respectful at all times for a proper discussion of exchange of topics and ideas, so once again, we keep things moving on a regular pace. I will read the index cards. Each elected official will be given 2 minutes to answer the question on the index card. Thank you. And other elected officials have 1 minute for a follow-up answer if he chooses to do so. The elected officials remain afterwards during the town hall meeting for refreshments. And then this time, ladies and gentlemen, you can have some one-on-one time with them as well to answer any of your questions. So we will get started, ladies and gentlemen, with some opening remarks. So it is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to present to you the Vice Chairman of the Baltimore County Senate Delegation, Senator Johnny Ray Salley.
First, I want to thank everybody for coming out. It's cold weather because it's pretty nasty out there. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I want to thank the North Point Library for having this opportunity to share with a few things that I know are important to you.
Short because it's the last one.
First of all, I want to tell you, my name is Johnny Ray Salley. I'm your senator in this district of probably, I believe, not probably, but I believe it's the greatest district in Maryland. With me tonight, we have our 6th district House Representative, Robin Brainerd. We have Bob Long, we have Lucas. As we get started, I just want to let you know about what's been going on locally in the district and what's happened statewide and the legislation that I'm going to be proposing this year, 2018. One biggest thing that I think has been emphasized more than anything with the governor of with us is jobs. Jobs with TradePoint they have several companies. Other companies are looking to coming in as like a small company, Royal Farms, with people you know. But I think the biggest thing we're looking into is manufacturing, and we're looking into windmills. If you really think about what windmills could bring here, building them there, it's the greatest opportunity I believe we have in this area to bring over 1,000 jobs. We have the skill set here already. We have been promoting that. We will continue to promote that and bring good jobs. I think our emphasis have been good jobs. And we will not stop until we continue to bring the good jobs that are necessary here from what we have lost before. I think another important thing is something that's been brought up and that we have did a letter as a district, and I personally did a letter myself, is Manawa Shoal. It's an area where the delegation myself are totally against, and the people in our area in Baltimore County is against dredging. It's the last area where the watermen know, the sportsmen know, that are out there that we need to take care of and to cherish. So we are going to continue to fight for Manawa Shoal. We're going to make sure that it's not dredged in every way possible. This is something that has been brought up every year in legislation, and we will push and we will shove in every which way that we can, make sure that they do not touch this area of importance. The new VA hospital, it's a new clinic that is going to be built this year in August of 2018 at the Franklin Square Professional Center. It is over 12,000 square feet, which is the largest that is from the former clinic. The biggest, much bigger than that. It's located close to the major highway, mass transit, and will be giving free shuttles to those that need it, that area. And we're looking forward to that because my emphasis, and I think the delegation also has been for our veterans to see much more we can do for them. The midges, if you live in the Essex area more than anywhere else, it's been a major problem. It's not little people, they're butts. And just to let you know, the state has given over this year 300,000 jobs to combat these problems, these little things that have made problems with small businesses and with all those that go out on the boats and in our area. The county has not provided a penny. So we will continue to work to solve this problem, and we're hoping that we can get more help from the county. But just to let you know, more than anything, we're going to continue to work with our state and our legislators to get more.
Thank you, Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a great honor and privilege for me to introduce to you a member of the House Appropriations Committee, Delegate Robert L. Brammer Jr.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Before I get started, I just want to touch on a bit of a personal note. This last year has been a real blessing for my family and myself. For those of you who don't know my son, our first child came 2 months early, and that made for a very hectic Christmas and holiday season last year. Since then, he's been doing fantastic. He's just took him about 2 weeks after he took his first step. Now he's running all over the place, driving us crazy. So this last year for my wife and myself has been a bit of a challenge, but for those of you who have kids, it's been a real blessing. And many people sent us positive thoughts, letters, and we really appreciated that. So thank you. So I'll begin talking about their interests and interest of this district that we always try to pursue. We're not the only people that are present in Annapolis, and there's always kind of a context that the session tends to operate under. So I'll talk about a couple things that are, for better or for worse, just going to happen in the 2018 legislative session. This year being an election year, a lot of these are driven by electoral politics. So we live in the Baltimore region, and crime tends to be the issue of the day. We're in close proximity to the city, and they're having some real problems there. I think it was 2 days ago now, the news broke that the city of Baltimore had the worst murder rate per capita in the entire country in recorded history. And you know, my family originally is from Baltimore, as are many families in our district, and nobody wants to see this trend continue. So the Baltimore Sun has actually really done a pretty good job of covering the issue in a couple pieces. And what we're seeing in a lot of cases is people that get arrested and are convicted oftentimes go to pleas. And we're seeing violent criminals that are going back in front of a judge 5, 6, 7 times and are being let out of jail. So I think judicial oversight, while I personally won't be sponsoring any bills for this, I know that there is great discussion in really both caucuses in Annapolis to talk about and debate why we're sending repeat drug offenders, not necessarily just people who own drugs, but people who are selling hard drugs, and committing violent crimes or getting sent in front of a judge and being put out on the street 5, 6, and 7 times over. For those of you who are interested, it's not on the front of many people's radar. We do have 2 breweries here in the district, and there's a big legislative fight between it's the wholesalers, the licensed beverage people, and the local breweries. It's the issue that the comptroller has driven over the last year. It's when people talk about money in politics, they don't often know specifically where it's happening. Well, it's happening in alcohol, and it's what you essentially have is the what is the money people behind the Annapolis establishment are really coming down on the little guys here, and they're essentially using the law to squash little people out of the market. So I know that's not a big controversial issue on a lot of people's radar, but that will be a giant fight, and it's going to mean a lot for a lot of people in Annapolis. 2 very controversial bills that were pushed last year and were actually defeated. There was a sanctuary state bill and a Section 8 bill. They both passed the House and were defeated in the Senate. I fully anticipate, there hasn't been a lot of discussion about this, but I fully anticipate those bills will probably will be sponsored They'll probably pass the House once more and move on to the Senate. And I personally anticipate a giant fight between the House and the Senate over the passage of those bills, and I would watch the news because I think it's really going to have an impact for our district here. Marijuana, this is going to be a big issue of the day. So the word on the street is it is election time, and a lot of people, especially in this district, have a lot of varying opinions about marijuana. A lot of people will look more favorably on it for medicinal purposes, medical uses, especially with the opioid issue we're having right now. There's discussion, and a lot of people are telling the same story, and that is that it's going to be put on the ballot. What I mean by putting it on the ballot, they're going to put marijuana legalization on the ballot for you to vote on in the 2018 election. So why would you do that? Okay, so a lot of people are on both sides of the issue, but it becomes a matter of turnout. 2014, there was a bit of a low turnout, especially on one side of the equation. And frankly, to be honest with you, it's being put on the ballot to try and knock out the governor. Now that's just the word on the street, but I would fully anticipate seeing that coming in the maybe even the early weeks of the session. So my bills. Talk about a couple things. I'll probably be working on this session. About 4 years ago, the county executive mentioned this, and it's actually a really big issue for our district. We operate on Baltimore City water, which leaves many of the communities in Baltimore County subject to the operation of Baltimore City agencies. In a lot of cases, you have crumbling infrastructure, you have terrible service, you'll call about a problem and they'll give you a ridiculous excuse. I've actually seen water coming up through a street. And when I as a state lawmaker called Baltimore City, they said, well, it's just the rising water table. I've never seen the rising water table. I don't think I have to explain any further. And when the county executive talked about it, he said, we should have a regional water authority. Why doesn't Baltimore County or the other counties that are on Baltimore City water have any kind of say about spending or infrastructure or decision making about what frankly infrastructure that's